to move on here. It looks like we have a good mix of not only current Windchill 9.1 customers, but also some Interlink customers, and then some of our users are still out there using files and folders. What you will see here in the demo is just kind of an overview. So for those of you that are looking to look at the new interface, you'll have a good example of that. Again, whether it's from Interlink 3.x or 9.1, you'll get a good example, and then you'll see some capabilities within the software if you're not using any type of data management system as we speak. A little bit of a side note here, this is a high-level overview because of the time constraint. If you'd like to see something that's a little bit more in-depth, feel free at any given time to contact one of your CDT people that you have talked to or information to get towards the end of the webinar, and we'll gladly do a little bit more in-depth demo showing of the product so you can see what we can get to. Okay. What you see here is differences between Pro Interlink and PDMLink, and we'll talk a little bit about PDMLink and what that means in Windchill. But what you see here is what Pro Interlink 3.x is what PTC offered for a number of different years. Very powerful data management system, very widely and popularly used between a number of different settings within CAD environments. And what PTC did with the Windchill product release a number of different years ago is try to take a product that went beyond the boundaries of engineering. And in the early releases of Windchill, you can kind of see here and read through some of the capabilities. What Windchill really does is take on the issues and problems of not only engineering, but also some of the other areas of business that you may be having problems and or issues in. From Interlink 3.x only being a CAD only type system to where in Windchill you can add in not only CAD documents but multiple vendor type CAD documents, so other CAD softwares, but also any of your documentation that you have, so Word documents, Excel documents, and anything else you pretty much can think of. In Windchill 10.0, or I shouldn't say Windchill 10.0, but just in Windchill in general, you have the change management engine that's out of the box. You have the ability to develop your own workflows for not only promotion, but also iteration and revision type ideas. Part of the Windchill family is a product called Project Link, so you can do all of your project management. And PTC on a number of different levels has a number of different softwares that do a whole bunch of different things, whether it's business reporting, whether it's quality management. They are continually developing and putting out portions of the Windchill family that cover just about every part of your business that you can think of. Again, today we'll go into the data management and documentation management portion of it, which is PDMLink. But again, if you're looking for not only that, but also other areas that a software can help you out, Windchill has a number of different capabilities. Okay? So you kind of see, again, quickly, you see up here the Pro Interlink 3.x functionality in essentially the Windchill architecture. It went from the client server setting to more of a web-based type application. And then again, for those of you that are on Windchill Interlink, essentially Pro Interlink 10.0, which is the Windchill Interlink version of it, there are quite a few different capabilities from the Interlink 10.0 to the Windchill 10.0 or PDMLink 10.0. And again, whether it's 9.1 or 10.0, we're talking the same thing here. And if you haven't ever looked into it, the cost difference between Interlink licenses and PDMLink licenses are very, very small. I think it's about $100 maybe difference total in licenses, and as you can see, you get a lot more functionality. There are very few times that we've actually sold Pro Interlink licenses, because even if you're not doing some of these things that you see down at the bottom, it gives you the capability to do that, and you don't have to go through changing out licenses when you can grab another one for an extra $100 at the time. So a little bit different in capabilities, and again, I won't get into too many of the details right now. If you're looking for more details, we can get together on a one-on-one basis and cover that. All right, we'll jump right into the demo portion of the webcast. What you'll see here today, again, is I have a live running version of Windchill on my machine, and we won't see too much actual CAD interaction with Windchill. We'll just kind of see different interfaces, how they've cleaned it up, and some of the other functions for those of you who have not seen Windchill in the past. So since Windchill is web-based, you can log in with any web browser that you have on your desktop, right? And we're not talking about we're talking about behind the firewall, right? Not outside the firewall access, at least, unless you have some type of VPN connection. But all I'm going to do here, guys, is just go ahead and log in, and we will log in as a specific user, and then we'll switch and do a few different things as far as user-wise. But so for those of you that are not familiar with, essentially, when you log into Windchill, all of your users will have a unique username and password. And not only is it first line of defense for things that users can or cannot see, but when you log in and have unique IDs, essentially the concept behind Windchill is to make teams, whether it's users or teams of people, and they fill roles within the Windchill system. And we'll kind of get into that just so you can see what I'm talking about here as we move along. But because that Windchill is outside, or can be outside of just the engineering, the engineering realm, what you'll see is a number of different times when users you want users to get in and only have them have access to certain type of documents or certain type of products, and giving them unique username and password access limits that capability, whether it's on an individual basis or whether it's on a team basis, and it also fills in roles that you may see. Okay? So again, for those of you that have not seen Windchill 10 before, right, here's the interface. For those of you that are using 3.x or 9.1 or 9.0 or whatever it may be, you will see a little bit different as far as coloring schemes, right? And this is really just the home page. The home page looks a little similar to what you saw in the 9.1 portion of the software. But what PTC has done they've made it easier to manipulate some of your things that you use often, right? Before, there were some rigidness for the interface and how you had the ability to manipulate the interface. Right away, what you see on the home page now is the ability to go on the Customize tab, and as you see assignments and updates and checked out work, essentially what I have the ability to do is remove or add any one of these little areas on my home page that is specific to me, take them in or out if I want to, just by picking on buttons. I can reorder these areas just by dragging them up or down if I would like. If you also notice, if I come over here and hit the drop down next to my columns, I can easily come in and add or remove any column that I want. So if for whatever reason, if I never cared about the status, okay, I could remove that column fairly easily just by coming in here and picking on the status column and then removing and or adding the things that I do or do not want. I can easily reorder the columns here now in Windchill 10. I can drag this guy. I can drag it to any point that I want, and again, now the status has come over to the in front of the state or the end state for those specific objects. Okay. Other things that have changed that you see right away on the interface for Windchill 10 is that they've added in the concept of a Navigator. Okay, and what the Navigator does is that for those of you that have used Windchill before and in previous versions of Windchill, when you picked buttons, you had a lot of URL changes. Okay, you were always flipping between web pages and things were changing, and a lot of times that has a direct effect on performance of Windchill and how fast essentially your machines could pull web pages from the server and how they were being produced. But what you see now is PTC has created panes that you can expand and then collapse, so you're not always switching URLs. So whether it's searching that you're doing or just browsing through data, it makes it much easier to kind of get at this data without an entire interface change throughout the software. So makes it nice and easy to get at the information, at least access that information. For those of you that haven't used Windchill before, some of the things that you see on top, my assignments and updates and work that I am working on. More specifically, let's talk a little bit about the assignments idea. Essentially, what Windchill allows you to do is create workflows and tasks that are specific to a process that you as a company or your company might map out that we follow. For instance, out-of-the-box change management on an object essentially means when I go in and we're going to make a change on product A or component B, that I have a series of tasks and the stages that I might have to go through for us to be able to make that change to that object. What PDMLink allows me to do is create workflows that are assigned to teams and or users, and instead of me taking a piece of paper from one desk to the next desk and having it sign off, I'm assigned tasks and or assignments that is completely and totally automated within the software, and they show up when I am a part of that workflow or part of that process when it's my time to perform my task and whatever it may be. So what you see here are my assignments. I need to approve this or review this or whatever that task may be. And again, not only do you get an assignment here, but you also get email notification that says, hey, you are part of this task. It's now your turn to do something. What this really does is create a sense of accountability and traceability for products and also objects, so they're not just sitting around on somebody's desk and you're wondering where this is at. You can always go in and look at that process within the Windchill system. Okay? So assignments, and again, and updates, and some other panes that we can put up that are very specific to what is in PDMLink. Again, if I expand my browser that I have right here, what you see that's a little bit different in Windchill 10 is that it gives you the access to what is PDMLink and what is Project Link right at the top. You have your MPM-Link, which we won't get into today. You have your products, which are PDM-Link. You have your projects, which are Project Link. You have changes, which are your changes that are across the entire board. You have libraries, which are for libraries of documents. They are libraries for CAD objects, whatever it may be that, again, depending on your access, whether you do or do not get at those areas, okay? What I'm going to do here is expand the drill, and we'll get into the drill details, but what you see that's different about Windchill 10 is that for anybody that's used Windchill 9.1 in the past, you saw that the interface was cluttered, okay? There were always a lot of buttons that were out there that were all over the place, and PTC had ideas of user-based, role-based UIs where they took certain buttons on and buttons off. But what you found is the interface was cluttered, and it made it seem like the product was a little bit harder to use than what you saw before. So what they've done is grouped information and made it easier to perform functions in what you would see in same ideas within Windows and Pro E today as far as accessing types of commands. So what you see here is under the Drill 400 series, essentially your layout of what this product is. Now, simply put, a product is an indeliverable object, right? If I create external hard drives, I might have external hard drive 400 and external hard drive 500. And what you have the ability to do is regulate user access based on not only product, but also information underneath that product. Now, for the most part, all of your information against the drill, that's out there against the drill, okay, you have a team that makes up not only the processes, but access to that product, right? So I have members, and I have guests, and I have a product manager, and people that are the approvers and the reviewers. And whether it's across the board throughout your company or whether it's on a product-to-product individual product basis, you have the ability to create essentially this team of people that work and have access. Again, you could regulate access against this product by depending on what role they have. Out of the box, we have these change admins. The change admins are part of the out-of-the-box change process where essentially, again, if you're a change admin 1 or change admin 2 or a change admin 3, you see those tasks on your assignments page as they are given to you because you are a part of this team. Let's go ahead and back up here. Let's go ahead and get into the folders, right? The folders within PDMLink, okay, what they are visual data segregation, okay? PDMLink and all Windchill 10 products are really a database behind the scenes, but what you see out on front are visual ways to separate data, right? We talked about Windchill not only being an engineering product, but also being a outside of the engineering realm, right? Within PDMLink, you have the ability to put in documentation, right? You'll see Word files and Excel files, and just as if you were coming in and regulating as far as revision and version and in state, whether it's released or in work, you can do that with all of your Word files also, just like you would with all of your CAD files. And again, this is where PDMLink really separates itself out from the Intralink products, is that you are trying to push this to where you have users that are not necessarily based just in engineering, right? We could create products that had no CAD documentation at all in it, but we could define products that are specifically defined through Word files or requirement docs or Excel files or PowerPoints, whatever you already have. And again, you regulate access, who has or who does not have access through the team concept and the permission structures that you set. Right? If you get into the details pages of your Word documents, you come into I have a details page of this Word document. You don't see the illustrations just because I haven't pulled this up, but you see, excuse me, who that it's checked in, who was it last modified by. You can see any related objects, where that document is being used at as soon as this pops up, any changes that are out against this document, any history of this document. I don't think we're going to have any where used, but if this document was used or related to any other documents that you have, if I get into my history, I can see all the history that I have for this specific Word document. You know, if we've checked this Word document back in 10 times, you would see A1 through A10. You could easily pull up older versions of this document to see where that document was at any given time. And again, great tools instead of just putting files on folders and then hoping for the best as far as your revision for documentation. Get back into the details page, right? Just general information that you see about this specific document. Let's go ahead and back up. Right, just a URL backup. Let's get into the engineering page of it. In the engineering page of it, you see not only what are called CAD documents within the software, but also something called WT parts. They make up what is the side of Windchill structure. I'll show you some quick examples of that. We won't get into too heavy about what WT parts are. But what you can see here is if I have my carburetor body, these are just informational buttons. You see a little bit of information on top, right? Version, what version it is, whether it's in work or whether it's released, when it was last modified. Again, you can add in columns that show other informations for these objects that you have. Again, remember whether it's Pro-E parts, there are work group managers for SolidWorks and CATIA and AutoCAD, and I'm sure there's for a number of other ones. I just don't remember the other ones off the top of my head. But if I go ahead and pick my information buttons, again, kind of like what we saw here for the Word document, you can see what version and what iteration you're in, what's the status, or essentially what your life cycle state is. You can see any of your related objects that you have. If you have any related objects, whether it's WT part or Word documents, you see any related objects. You see a great where used, right? You're not digging to find where this component is being used at. If you come in and look at a where used report, right? Let's say we want to make a change to our carburetor body, but we don't know exactly where that carburetor is being used by. We know it's used in this product, but what other products is the carburetor being used? You can go in, do where used reports, say, hey, if we're going to change this carburetor, we know it's going to affect 15 different products, and at least at that point in time, you have a little bit better of an idea of what's going to be affected, make a little bit better of analysis as far as cost, and the ideas that go along with those changes. Again, you have your history that exists for your carburetor. You have your, if we drag this down here, you have your history, again, A1, whether your iteration or whether your version, or excuse me, revision changes that you have. Again, you have the ability to pull up older versions and see what state they were at any given time. Now, what's nice about PDMLink, okay, and it is different. You cannot, or I should say, not that you cannot, Intralink 10.0 and PDMLink 10.0, the real big differences that you have between the two is that within Intralink, it is more engineering-based, okay? You can't put in documents as far as Word documents and Excel documents. You don't have the visualization that I'm going to show you here in just a second. You don't have configuration management or BOM manipulation, and then you also do not have change management. But since we're looking at PDMLink, what you'll see here, okay, is the ability to pull up visualization of that object. So again, if I have a guy that's on the shop floor and he needs to find information about my little carburetor body that I have right here, he does not need a version or a installed Pro-E seat out on the shop floor on a laptop just to see information about this part file that I have right here. I can come in and turn this part file. I can zoom in and out on it. I can see specific information about it, okay? I can see version information. I can come in and take measurements if I want to, okay? I can do some sectioning function where I can take sections if I'm looking at assembly. And again, whether you do or do not have Pro-E, everyone that logs into the system has access to this information through what is now Creo View, okay, which was Product View prior to all the different name changes that PTC has gone through, okay? So this is Creo View. Again, a lot of different things that you can go through. This is the light version of what is now Creo View. Some of the heavier versions of Creo View, you actually can do interference checks on assemblies within Creo View, which makes it really nice because, again, if you're in a meeting, you don't have Pro-E seats, you just have a web browser, you can get into PDMLink and do design reviews and design checks without, again, pulling those objects up within Pro-E. As far as size-wise for these, this is a very lightweight application. PTC created a benchmark, I think it was at Boeing, where they were able to pull up 3 fully loaded 747s and turn them and manipulate them just as if we're doing this right here. So it creates very lightweight files that you have that you use and are not actual Pro-E and or other CAD documents that you're pulling up. This is Creo View, and again, it comes along with every seat that you buy of PDMLink, okay, of PDMLink. Excuse me, guys. All right, let's go ahead and let's back up here. What I'm going to show you here is for those of you that are using at this point in time, you're using at this point in time 9.1 or 9 and past, and you're using WT parts, right? If you're using WT parts, what I'm going to go ahead and do is perform a simple search. Okay, come in and perform a simple search. I'm going to search for, excuse me, the drill. Okay, and what we'll see is a quick report of what all of our objects that have drill in them. Let's go ahead and hit the details page of this guy. What's new in Windchill 10 is the ability to come in and look at, obviously, the structure, and you have the ability to look at the structure. But what you can do here is there's this structure comparison. It's not really a tool. It's just more of an area that you can come in and look at. So what I'm going to have is the structure of essentially the PDMLink structure. And what I'm going to do here is I would like to compare this structure to my other structure. So let's go ahead to my structure view here. Let's go pick it. Or use general. I should have a compare structure. Compare structure. Let's see here. I should have this, guys. Here's in our details. I won't spend too much time on this, but I was expecting to have a compare structure. And if I don't find this here real quick, I'll talk about this. But okay, let's move on here. So what I was looking to pick is what I have here is a structure that is specific to Windchill. Essentially, what you have in the Windchill concept is CAD structure and then what are called Windchill part structure. The CAD structure obviously is usually an assembly structure that is driven by CAD, right? So you see CAD parts and CAD objects, but what a lot of times a number of different customers don't have are things that are not CAD related. You know, you don't put grease and glue and paint in your CAD part structures, but what you can do within the Windchill PDMLink system is add in components with this insert existing, or essentially add in objects that make up non-EBOM structures, right? So you have an engineering structure that is specific for parts and CAD objects, but you might have a purchasing BOM or a manufacturing BOM that has, again, paint, glue, any object or whatever your company decides that is not necessarily valid CAD objects. And what you can come in and do is add those into a WT part structure and then give them an identity and keep revision and version control on those structures. So if I was able to hit my compare, which again, I don't know why I don't have that. If I was able to hit my compare, what I would get is a CAD structure on this side, and anything that I have manipulated or changed on this side of the structure, it would say, it would highlight, this would turn out in red, and this one would turn on red here, and over on the other side it says, you have a difference in structure from one to the next. Now that might be by default, or it might be, or it might be by design, or might be by mistake, but what it gives you the ability to do is view those structures and see the difference in those structures. Okay? PDMLink really does a great job of giving you the ability to get out of the BOM on the drawing view that you see in most cases. A lot of companies put that BOM on the drawing view, but again, they're manually entering a number of different pieces of information to satisfy what they are trying to show. Again, whether it's on the manufacturing floor or on purchasing. In PDMLink, you add that information into your into your structures on PDMLink, and you have the ability for not only engineering users but also other users to access that information. Okay? So a little example and a little explanation of what these structures and why they're there and what you have the ability to do with them. If we come back and let's go to our Navigator, let's go into our folders and the engineering folder. One thing that I did want to show you as far as interface change is that notice how even if I come into and go to the information button for this specific component, before in PDMLink, you always had a lot of buttons that existed across and flowed across the top of your screen. What you now have the ability to do is, again, whether it's the actions, right, you see this here, but also if I back up, you have the ability to perform these actions by right clicks. So they've added in right click functions, okay, to essentially your folder content. And again, it's a big difference than what it is before when you always had a number of different buttons. You had to know what those buttons do. So just like you right click now today on something in Creo Parametric or Wildfire 5 or whatever version you may be using, you now have those functions within PDMLink to go and then get at from that point. Notice how I can open in Creo or what it would be Wildfire 5. I can do checkouts from this point. I can create new problem reports or change requests that are, again, within the realm of my change process. And again, all my save as and copies and all those things that you would expect to see as far as a data management system from PTC. All right, so just some general overview. Already we're getting close to the time where I want to give some question and answer feedback. Again, you only get really a real high-level overview of interface and some of the things. If you have some really specific questions that I can't answer within the question and answer, feel free to contact me. You'll see my information, and we'll get those, or even a demo that you might see. What I'm going to do here is I would like to show you two different things. One of them is where PTC is going with some of the not only BOM management, but also the configuration management idea within the software. So let me go ahead and go to this PowerPoint. Right, and what I'm going to play here is the YouTube from the Creo, from the PTC launch event.
Generic structure. So this is essentially a structure of all of the possible options and variants, all of the choices. You see, for example, when we get to the seat options for this automobile, we've got a couple of different choices. We've got a standard seat, then we've got a sport seat. There are many other options that are built into this design, but instead of exploring them here in the PLM system, let's go to the Creo configuration modeling app. So again, another purpose-built app that has been tailored to provide me the capabilities to create configurations, to choose from the options in the bill of material and generate a unique variant. So there are some elements in the base of this car, some things that aren't configurable. That's the top node. The other 5 nodes here, though, are all configuration options. We've got multiple different engine types. We've got multiple different transmission options, braking options, body styles. We've got multiple different seat choices as well. So we're going to make a choice for most of those options, but we're not going to choose a seat. The reason we're not going to choose a seat is the seat option we want isn't in this configuration. It's not on the menu. It's not an option yet. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to search our PLM system, and we're going to find the seats that we want. We actually want racing seats, 5-point harness racing seats. And there you see the properties for those seats. We're actually going to add this as a new option to the design. So in the configuration modeling environment, we can actually create new configurable options. Not only make choices, but create new choices that we can select from. After we've made these changes in this configuration modeling environment, we're going to go ahead and push these changes back to the PLM system. So you'll see that you'll also notice in this particular screenshot that what we're looking at is all of these different options. They're color-coded to reflect the different applications where that source data came from. So a little bit of any data adoption is shown here as well. We're going to push those changes, the changes to the configuration, back into Windchill. You'll see now when we refresh that we actually have 3 seat choices, and we've revised this generic structure. If we go back to the configuration modeling environment, though, we've made some choices. We've created a serial number specific variant. For me, I've picked what I want exactly. I've defined a collection of data in this application. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Now, in order to do that, I want to switch to a visualization environment. I want to see the 3D geometry. And in order to get there, I'm going to use an app switcher, a tool that will allow me to switch between one role-specific app and another, and automatically pass the data as well. So when I go ahead and select the visualization application, what do I see? I see the specific geometric configuration to reflect the specific geometry to reflect the choices that I made. You'll see the seat switch there, and you'll see the racing seats are included in the design.
So what that is and what PTC presented at the user event was an app that is not released as of yet that allows you to make geometry manipulation as far as assembly work without actually ever getting into Pro-E. Now, for those of you that might snicker at that idea because we know how assemblies work, okay, there are some things that obviously that have to be done, some groundwork that has to be done that allows that to happen. But as of Windchill 9.1, you cannot make CAD, essentially CAD structure changes to, obviously, your CAD structure. But with 10.0 and the release of the AnyBOM app, what you would have the ability to do is, if you have a configuration person or anybody in engineering, come in and make assembly changes, create new products without ever actually having to open up Pro-E and making those assembly changes. Okay? Essentially, you would be swapping out components, and then once you opened up ProEngineer, if your assemblies allow this to happen, you would have products that were already built within Pro-E that allow that to happen. Now, again, we know a number of different there's a number of different hurdles you have to get to that point. But for the most part, it is a fairly grand idea that you can create product, variations of products, and new products without ever opening up Pro-E and doing that from the Windchill side. This app is not out as of yet. I think it was a Creo 2.0 plus a point release of Windchill 10 that was going to be coming out, and I haven't seen the date as of late. The other thing that I wanted to show you before we get to the question and answer period is that in very soon to be released Windchill 10, that PTC is now putting in what they call the PTC system monitor. I just caught this briefly the other day when I was looking at some videos, is that what this, and again, don't ask me too many details because I haven't even seen this work, but what they've now put in is from something that is called Dynatrace and their application performance management software that will diagnose and report on issues before you ever get to that. On what scope, okay, how broad of scope is that? Again, I couldn't give you all the details with that, but this is more of a system admin type of reporting tools. And again, if you are a current Windchill customer, you will get this for free and very future releases of Windchill. All right. Again, for time purposes, I won't go on too much more. Let me go ahead and look at my see what questions that we have out. If we have any questions, please feel free to ask questions at this time, and I will be able to answer any of those that may be out there. Okay. For the most part, this ends the webcast for today. So if you don't specifically have a question, thanks for hopping on with us. We'll be putting this up on the our usual YouTube site, so you could go back and play this later if someone did not make the recording and they'd like to see this. So if you have any questions at this point in time, feel free to ask them, and I'll stay on here for the next 10 or 15 minutes and answer anything that I can. Okay, so one question that we have is the differences between what are WT parts and Pro-E parts. Okay, so what you think of here when I said the WT part idea, for the most part, in a simple sense, essentially, Pro-E parts are what are called CAD documents. Okay, and those CAD documents have revision and version control and visualization that is related to them, and they are CAD documents. WT parts are parts that are, for the most part, they can be created by themselves, but they are created from CAD parts, and what they become are buckets of information. And that bucket of information contains and has a related not only Pro-E part, but also any other supporting documentation that obviously supports that WT part. So if I had spec documents or Word documents or any other type of Excel file that supports that Pro-E file, what I have is a bucket that I then can relate a number of different objects and keep version and revision control. So when I go to look for a specific part file, okay, and in this case a CAD part file, I might do a search for part 1, 2, 3, 4. You will see the CAD document 1, 2, 3, 4, but you also will find the WT part 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see any other supporting documentation. So when you go to find something, you are finding everything that is directly related to that object that you are going to look. Again, because the CAD document can initiate a structure of WT parts, I can create WT parts that are non-CAD related. So if I have, again, grease or paint or whatever it may be, I can create those as WT parts and add them to the structure of an M-bomb or a P-bomb, and again, it's not necessarily based on what you see for a Pro-E structure. So the configuration management idea, the ability to put those in, and that, in a simple sense, is the difference between WT parts and Pro-E parts. Again, if you have questions, feel free to put them out there, and I will answer them if you have any. If you don't, again, thanks for getting on, and feel free to feel free to hop off at any point in time. I did forget to put this up. There's me. So again, if you have questions, sorry I should have put that up, but if you have questions that you need to ask that's a little bit more detailed or a little bit later on, feel free to contact me or anybody that you have contacted in the past from CDT at the spots that you see right in front of you. Doesn't look like we have any other questions coming through. If you're typing, I'll stay on for another 4 minutes until 12:55. But again, if you don't have any questions, feel free to hop off.